You know, it doesn't really matter what the media writes, as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of the A word. That is a quote from Donald Trump, the most powerful man in the world and our current United States president. If he himself is not an example of how society views women, I don't know what is. My topic today is stereotypical gender portrayals. Not only am I well read on this subject, but it is a topic that my way of life is founded upon. As a woman, I am constantly in fear of society turning its back on me due to my gender. My speech today will consist of 3 main points. My first point will focus on the problems of stereotypical gender portrayals. My second point will focus on some of the causes of these stereotypical gender portrayals. And my third point will focus on some solutions to these stereotypical gender portrayals. With that in mind, let's proceed to my first point. My first main point is the problem of stereotypical gender portrayals in media. Examples of this would be Disney, how Disney characters are given masculine and feminine characteristics. Early Disney princesses were given more feminine stereotypes such as passive, nurturing, motherly. A quote from that is from Dawn England, Lord Descartes, and Melissa Collier Meek, authors of a 2011 Sex Roles academic journal. They state that women used to take care of the house and the children, and these skills are showcased by the early princesses such as the princesses in Cinderella and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Women now, however, are expected to maintain such feminine traits and also to incorporate aspects of male traits such as assertiveness if they are to succeed outside of the home. End quote. Over time, Disney evolved to give a few more masculine traits to some of their female characters. So examples of this would be Belle and Mulan, and the masculine traits that were given were like aggressiveness, courageous, intellectual, etc. And although these are great characteristics, they don't need to be just strictly masculine. The information that is given in really a lot of Disney movies can give the impressionable children viewers a false sense of reality. So 2 quotes about that. One would be from Julia Golden and Jennifer Jacoby in their 2017 Sex Roles academic journal. Instead of negotiating gender on their own terms through their own creative processes, girls become entrapped in an intensifying loop of commercially constructed fantasies that steer them toward a view of femininity based on stereotypes of beauty, race, class, and behavior. Another example is from Bridget Whalen, author of a 2012 academic journal. She states, "The brief glimpse Disney offers into the lives of their princesses begins and ends with the princesses' romantic involvement of men." Although Disney is a massive culprit in gender stereotype regime, the idea of women needing to be saved by a man has been around for ages, like centuries. And because it has been a constant perpetuating theme, it's just because society has been feeding it the same thing over and over. So, now that we're familiar with the problem of stereotypical gender portrayals, let's move on to our second point. My second main point is the cause of those stereotypical gender portrayals. An example would be discrimination in the workplace. So men are seen as headstrong and career-driven, while women are expected to be emotional and family, caregiving oriented, that type of thing. An example from this would be, according to Jose Gonzalez, Clara Cortina, and George Rodriguez, authors of a 2019 academic journal, sociologists have repeatedly shown how the patriarchal character of organization life reinforces the idea of separate spheres for women and men and contributes to the perception that being an ideal worker is incompatible with being a good mother. Women also deal with constant discrimination in the workforce. Examples of this would be including being passed on a promotion due to gender or being paid less because you're a woman. And the last thing would be from being terminated just for being pregnant, because that's a huge liability. Another example would be according to Susan Trentham and Lori Larwood, authors of a 1998 Sex Roles academic journal, women often have to overcome greater barriers to be perceived as competent employees, and leaders, suggesting that women have to be better than men to succeed. That's a horrible viewpoint of people. Women in leadership positions are required to be tough and subservient at the same time. Example of this would be from Jack Holland and Catherine Wright, the authors of a 2017 academic journal on Australian media, stated the task of embodying the category of the woman leader has been described as akin to walking a tightrope of gender expectations, with apparently contradictory gender expectations pulling leaders in different directions and structuring media portrayals along a spectrum of gender premised expectations which stretch from woman to leader. Examples of political women in power are Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Kamala Harris. A lot of the creators of these women characters also are male, and that's because animation is mostly a male-dominated field. But a lot of these men don't fully understand the women they create, and sometimes they are made with bad intentions, these characters. And then another thing is, most of the higher-up corporate employees of major media things, so like the CEOs of Disney or Universal, they're male. So there's basically a glass ceiling there. So now that we're familiar with some of the problems and causes stereotypical gender portrayal, let's move on to my final point. My third point is the solution of stereotypical gender portrayals. An example would be diversifying the animation field to more accurately represented female characters. So women need to create women, if that makes sense. So there needs to be more women artists to make relatable female characters that young women can relate to. Another example would be women getting more corporate jobs, so women can be important in the workplace and viewed equally as men. And then another thing is parents basically exposing their children to both genders. So in a way, not forcing them to be in a box where they can't play with certain colors, they can't wear different things, they can't see Barbie dolls and trucks and have the option to do both. So yeah, and then now that we've discussed some solutions, let's wrap up this speech and go to the conclusion. So, in conclusion, I discussed the topic of stereotypical gender portrayals. There were three main points I focused on today. My first point discussed the problem of stereotypical gender portrayals. I focused on it in media. My second point discussed some of the causes of these stereotypical gender portrayals. And my last point gave some solutions to these stereotypical gender portrayals. Accepted by the general public or not, gender norms are a huge social construct in today's world. Many individuals have been affected by the cultural norms that dictate our society as a whole, myself included. With each generation constantly evolving and becoming more open-minded, there is hope that our society will embrace equality for all, and that starts today. Like Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you for listening.